Welcome to a semester of Fortunate Events. I'm your host, Jessica Bennett, and this podcast explores how our education, careers, and life experiences intersect in unexpected ways. My journey, personally, has been filled with a number of fortunate events. I could really write 10 books. I've joked about this several times. But many of these moments seem like challenges at first and ultimately led to growth and opportunities. So today I'm excited to share the airspace with two amazing guests who each have their own share of fortunate events that they've experienced. First, I'm excited to introduce my twin sister, Jennifer. Jennifer is a leader in diversity, inclusion, and belonging at Oxy in Houston. So why don't you tell us a little bit about you, Jennifer, and introduce yourself?
Okay, Jess, thanks for having me.
Of course.
So I'll give a little bit of background with education and experience in the workforce, and then I'll end with a few things I like to do for fun.
Okay.
So background, I graduated with Jessica from Clear Creek High School.
Go Wildcats.
Go Wildcats. And then in 2005, went to Texas A&M. For 2 years, I had no idea what I wanted to study, and I finally decided on psychology with a minor in Spanish, both of which I don't really use anymore, but that's okay.
Habla español.
Un poquito. So I knew near my end of my senior year that I had to do something with psychology. I had to do something different or expand on it, get a master's, because everybody I talked to said you can't really get a great job just with psychology as a bachelor's degree. So I applied to a master's program at UT School of Public Health in Houston. And my idea or thought was to go into health promotion and behavioral sciences, using that psychology, but partnering it with a passion I have, which is health and fitness. Especially with children. My sister and I struggled with good diet growing up, and so that was something that I fought with in high school and college and just felt really passionate about wanting to help other kids. And so, I decided to get my master's in that, and then I started working with Weight Watchers International. And about 2 months before I graduated with my master's, they asked me to work with them full time. And so as I graduated, I went into Weight Watchers corporate headquarters, and I ended up being a national trainer. So didn't actually use the degree. I mean,
Either one? Is that what you're...
They both were wonderful degrees. And with health promotion, I learned about meeting with stakeholders and getting buy-in and a lot of program management skills, but I didn't have the experience of training, more just facilitation and working with people. So I like how you talk about the series of fortunate events, because I never, even in school, would have pictured where I am today, but it's been a beautiful journey.
Well, thank you, Jennifer. That was a lovely overview. We'll get more into your journey here in a little bit. I also have a second incredible guest, Justin. He is a TV anchor based in College Station, and his journey in journalism has taken him across the country. He started in Detroit, I believe, and now not Detroit. We'll cut that part out. He started in the northwest, that part of the country. Okay, and now he's in Texas. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, Justin, and your presence on TV and then into social media too?
Well, it's really great being here. Thanks to I sound good. No,
now you do.
So Detroit's pretty cold, but Montana is even colder. And that's where my career originally started, in Butte, Montana.
Okay.
So way out there, population, I don't know, less than probably 15,000 people.
Okay.
But I graduated in North Carolina. I went to a technical trade school there.
Okay.
And I actually went for radio broadcasting.
Oh,
I never wanted to do news, because I said, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news. I don't want people coming to me for the bad stuff. Come to me for entertainment. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to be on the radio. And then, there's a big shift that happened with iHeart and Clear Channel. Mm-hmm. And so they brought in national talent. So they said, okay, we're going to take your show and we're going to voice track it from a guy in California, but you can stay and work on the promotions team if you want.
Okay, sounds super exciting.
Right. So I did that for a little while, and then I said, okay, maybe I need to venture into television and the next medium. So I got a job at the TV station as a camera guy and realized, I could be on the other side. I need to be on the other side of this. But they wouldn't hire me because that market was too high.
Yeah.
So I had to go to Montana, where they're needing people. They're
Okay.
desperate to have
Yeah.
anchors and reporters come out to Montana and learn their
Interesting.
skills, cut their teeth, as you call
Yes. Yes.
it. So I did that, and it was cold.
Yeah.
There's a lot to say about Montana. It's a beautiful place, but it's freezing. So,
Yep.
so I did that, and from there you just bounce around. So now I'm in College Station, Aggieland, home of Texas
Yes.
A&M.
Whoop.
It's a fun place to be. It's a fun place to work. But outside of work, I like working on cars. I like running, getting a little exercise. But other than that, I work and I go home.
Yes. That sounds like my life. I work, go to school, go home. I have little free time, and so constantly juggling. But it's all worth it, right?
It's worth it, right? Yeah.
So, well, great. Well, I'm so excited to have both of y'all here. Thank you both for your introductions. I think the main focus of our session today is, again, just how you can look at challenges as either, an obstacle or a fortunate event. I was also supposed to go to A&M, but then the summer after high school, I found out I was pregnant with my son, Branson, and he is 18 now himself, looking into colleges, potentially A&M. So just crazy how that all comes back around. But he's also looking into trade school and considering the oil and gas industry too. So, but yeah, it's just all about, taking those challenges and what do you want to do with it? So Jennifer, you work in a very challenging environment, actually. I know there's been even resistance to your field, with diversity, equity, and inclusion, belonging. But what I want to talk about today is how communication plays a role in your field. I know that you partner with a marketing team and a communication team. Maybe just tell us a little bit about your interactions and collaborations and how marketing affects all departments.
Yeah. I might take it a little different direction if that's
Yeah, of
okay,
course.
but it still aligns because it's about communication.
Okay, I
So
like this.
my background, I said, is in learning and development, or probably didn't actually get to that, but it's in learning and development, although I have other degrees, 15 years plus experience training, developing people, coaching, pouring into them, helping them find passion around their professional development skills. And 2.5 years ago, I was approached to take we call it DIB at Oxy, Diversity, Inclusion, and Belonging role. And at first I was honestly terrified because I am somewhat of a people pleaser. I like to keep the peace. I like people to get along. And I knew going into this role, it was going to be heavy and there would be a lot of hard conversations. Not everybody would be a part or want to be a part of the story and be on the right side of history and things like that. And so I was scared, but I also knew it was the right role for me. And I'm so grateful that the leader, our VP who leads that group, had a wonderful strategy. And our approach to DIB is what I'm going to keep calling it, diversity, inclusion, and belonging, is about bringing people together and not making people feel isolated or that one group matters more than the other. And so for us, it's all about storytelling and the approach you take and speaking to hearts and not just heads. And we're all about inclusion, everyone in, nobody out. And so we have worked very closely with our marketing team to make sure we're getting our message out there, that people know what we believe about DIB at Oxy. We even like to talk about how diversity, it's so much more than what meets the eye. It's not just what we look like, our age or gender, ethnicity, but it's so many other layers. We talk about the diversity dimensions. There's 20, 30 plus pieces of who we are. And then inclusion is how we treat people. And are we treating people with kindness? Are we being intentional? Or are we unconsciously or even overtly excluding? And our message is all about that conscious kindness. And then the outcome is belonging, how people feel as a result of the way we treat one another. So that's our message. And we've made sure that we've aligned closely with our marketing group to get that message out to all of the right people at the company.
I love that so much, and I'm so proud of you just because I know that you're making an impact. I don't think I even told you this, but last semester in this professor's course, we took a storytelling course, and it was all about, how to share the story, not just, spew information at people, but really draw them in, add some tension. There has to be like an issue and then a resolution. A lot of good storytelling has multiple layers. So, and we actually also had to do a storytelling project on diversity, equity, and inclusion. So I put together an infographic on just how those areas, really contribute to better performance, better morale, things like that. So again, it's just interesting to see how all the worlds intersect.
Yeah,
and come
to
together.
our fortunate events.
Yes.
And if I can just elaborate really quickly,
Yes.
just tiny,
And then because
I want Justin.
I
I know
know.
he's important. We need to hear from him.
I know, we're just going back and forth.
But with the role too, it was scary, but I knew it was meant for me. I was in a really hard spot with my former job at the same company. And to dive just tiny bit into faith, I was praying and praying and praying with my Bible study about just needing a different role. I needed to be somewhere else. Where I wasn't it. And at the end of that prayer group, my at the time manager came in and said, "You'll never guess who I was just having lunch with, the leader of our DEI team." She's like, "Yeah, we were talking and she wants to hire you. She wants you to apply for a role that doesn't even exist yet." I was like, "We just prayed for this."
That's amazing. Well, and I feel like, again, going back to the fortunate events, that's happened a lot in my life and as yours as well, where things are kind of coming together that seem almost impossible,
Yeah.
So I love that you shared that.
Okay,
Well,
so
Justin. Yes. Well, Jennifer, since you're acting as somewhat of a co-host, do you have any questions before I go back to mine here?
You go for it.
Okay.
I'll do a
All
little
right, fine.
follow-up if that's okay.
Yes. So Justin, I know previously when we were talking, you'd mentioned that, you being in College Station, that you had the chance to present to Texas A&M students.
Mm-hmm.
Was that one time? Was it a one-time course, or have you done a few of those? And tell us about what that was about.
I've done them a few times. They approached me because the one guy couldn't do it, and so there's the series of fortunate events right there. The one guy's too busy. They're like, "Hey, we need the next guy in line." Justin, what are you doing?
Yeah,
I'm talking to your class is what I'm doing.
That's amazing.
So what it was about was it was actually to the media studies class, and a lot of them were going into PR and a lot of them going into marketing, and they want to know how do they use media to do that. So of course I tell them, well, there's two ways about it. Of course, you can either go the paid route and talk to the salespeople and pay for advertising, or you can talk to reporters and anchors and build some relationships. So part of my seminar was all about, this is how you get us. This is what we need, information, pictures, stats on where we're going, why we need to be there, and what time you need us on. And then having them understand, this is why we can do it, or this is why we can't do it. Because sometimes if there's a slow news day, we might go to grandma's 80th birthday
Right.
and shoot some video.
You need a feel-good story.
Right, we need that feel-good story, right?
Sometimes you do.
But I mean, if there's a fire in a building, then maybe we can't go.
Yeah.
But how you can get it to us is if you take pictures and videos horizontally, of course, send it to us with all the information, and then, hey, you see grandma's birthday pop up, and then the fire pop up later. So it's all there.
Yes.
So
I do want to ask a follow-up question there. What has been the most boring story you've had to report on?
most boring
or
thing.
like the slow day? You're like, oh, this is a slow day. That's why they are having us do this.
I feel like there's so many of those days. There's just so many of the random things. I feel like the boring stories are the ones that are wild goose chases where people won't talk to you. This guy's out of town, and this lady's on vacation, and so-and-so just didn't show up today. We don't know why.
Yeah.
Nobody can talk to you. So you're just sitting outside an office for hours just talking to the neighbors. And like, hey, have you heard anything about this?
That's funny.
That is funny.
I had one of those days the other day.
Did you?
Yeah.
Well, it makes for a good story sometimes, I guess. Well, cool. So also I took a course last semester on research, and one thing that we did was look into the ways that, I'm sorry, my eyes are just all of a sudden watering like crazy.
Just a beautiful moment.
I love boring stories.
Boring stories.
I was talking to grandma, and my eyes have been acting weird lately, so excuse me. But we were taking a course, or we were looking into how media and the newsroom has changed, and the role of the editor, and how it's really more about business now. Jennifer,
it's amazing. It really is. And some of those segments are paid segments too.
Yeah.
And on the lifestyle show, it's a paid segment. Though a lot of the meteorologists, when they do their weather, it's sponsored by
Oh.
this thing going on. So
I knew that.
I mean, they're going to do the weather regardless.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And how often do they get it right, though?
Hey, that's not even my department. Look, that's them. They've got their whole system. And I'm glad I'm not on that side.
Oh, goodness.
We have some good weathermen here in Houston, but I know that it's a touchy subject for the news team. But yeah. Okay. Well, let's just ask a couple more questions, and then we might need to wrap it up because I'm fighting myself here.
Okay, you're good. You're good.
Let's see. So, Jennifer, I know that you've been heavily involved in mentorship. You mentioned the learning and development that you've done at your work, and something that I really believe in and know helps the future generation is having a mentor and pouring into the younger generation, kind of guiding them on their career path. Will you tell us a little bit about your role in setting up the mentorship program at Oxy, or your involvement there, and maybe some of the positive things that you've seen from it? Maybe share a story, if you will.
Yeah, I'd love to. So, yes, I was on a project for a program at Oxy where it was our first time to have a company-wide mentoring program for people who weren't just new hires, but anybody in their career. If they had 1 year more experience at the company, they could participate in this mentoring program. And it was a lot of heavy lifting. It took us about maybe 9 months to build, and it was very successful though, by the time we got the baby out of the bath and all bundled up. Yeah, it went really well. I want to say we had several hundred people participate in our first actual program, not the pilot. And the biggest success of it was people building relationships cross-functionally, some reverse mentoring as well, where it might have been a younger person pouring into somebody who might have had more experience than them. But it really brought about more connections, more relationships, and they say that mentoring programs do help with employee retention. So it was fun. Every time I get a chance to tout that program for other people, I tell them to join, especially because I don't manage it anymore. So I don't feel like I'm, gloating about it, but it's a wonderful program. But I will say, building the program and even being a mentor, sometimes I had a little bit of imposter syndrome. Like, what am I going to be able to teach you, person I'm mentoring?
Yeah.
But I think that with mentoring, it's really not even worrying about yourself and what you are going to say or have to offer, but figuring out what your mentee needs help with, what they're looking for, and then just trying to find those resources, that advice, that knowledge. So when you can mentor, do it.
Justin, do you have any experience with mentoring? I mean, you going and teaching A&M students, I feel like that's a form of mentorship right there. But, and again, you're the face of the news. I feel like you're a built-in kind of example. But do you have any stories of maybe mentorship or someone who mentored you along the way?
Yeah, I think right now in the newsroom, anchors have to be the guy. And I didn't realize that when I stepped into this role, because being in news now over 10 years, I'm like, oh, I'm the older guy in the room now when college reporters come in and they're right out of college and they're like, hey, how do I do this? And I'm like, oh, well, you do it like this. So I think exactly what you were saying, mentoring people is a beautiful thing, because now I'm getting a chance to give everything I have to them, and these new reporters. They know because they went to college, but college doesn't operate on a day-to-day news basis like newsrooms do. So they know how to shoot, they know how to edit, they know some of the basics, but they don't know about deadlines as much. They don't know about getting your web story up, because having things on Facebook and on Twitter, or X now.
I still call it Twitter too.
You forget, right?
Correcting me.
But having the story on those platforms when your story's airing is just as important as having it on TV now, because that's how people consume these information. So I think that now I'm able to share with them the things that I've been learning all of these years. I got it so quickly because it's just now when I do my story, I can do it in no time. But they're working on it. And I say, for a second, it's taking them so long.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't know that you could just do this, and you can take the same format from your story yesterday and just change the words and the people around. Yeah. And now you got the whole thing. And if you want to get creative and you have extra time, then you can do that. So it's a beautiful thing. I love seeing new reporters. They come in hungry, and I just love it.
Yeah, that's the best when people want to learn and they are open and willing. I'm always most excited when somebody says, I don't know how to do that. Let me tell you.
Let me show you. I got it.
Yeah.
Well, this has been great. Just a couple more things I wanted to cover before we wrap up. one we've kind of already hit on, but storytelling. Just the power of authentic storytelling, I think, plays a role, again, in the marketing, in the news media world, even in, diversity, inclusion, and belonging. So has there been a time either you heard a story in the workplace or just a story you could share about how, you can build trust, credibility, and engagement by being just very genuine and authentic? Do you have an example? I know it's like a big, broad question I'm asking, but
it is. But I think when it comes to news, and this really can apply anywhere, it's all in how you approach the people that you meet, because in my business, you meet strangers every single day. So that if you're telling a story about them, if you come to them with too professional mindset, it's like, hey, we're doing a story tonight, I need to know this, and that, they're going to say, they'll be reluctant to talk to you. But if you come and you say, hey, I really just want people to know about what happened. I did a story the other day. It's Rockdale, out in Rockdale. I don't know if you're familiar with that area, but
I'm not.
It's a little out there. But it's a car dealership, and they had a thieves steal wheels off of new cars, and these are Ram pickup trucks, Super Duty. Oh, wow. So I don't know how these guys got these big 25-inch tires off.
They had an operation.
They did, and it cost them a lot of money. But the general sales manager, he didn't want to do an interview. And I talked to him. I just said, hey, man, look, we're trying to get the story out. We just want people to know that this happened. Maybe somebody will see our story, and they say, hey, I saw a truck carrying dozens of large, brand-new wheels. I mean, this is
odd. That's an odd sighting.
You see, and you would think about it twice if you remembered that you saw it, but you wouldn't even know it happened had that story not happened. So I feel like those kind of stories happen, and that's a way to use empathy and use your personality and make it all come together.
Yeah, a good example. Jennifer, do you have one?
We tell stories all the time in our I deliver a lot of trainings. I probably deliver like 3 trainings per week every week. So I'm constantly in front of people telling stories. And even though it's a little embarrassing, I like to tell them stories that show that I'm real and that are transparent and might even like poke fun at me or make me relatable to them. So a lot of time we're training around conscious inclusion and unconscious bias. And I like to give context about how I grew up. And so I talk a lot actually about mom and dad. I talk a lot about mom and dad growing up. They're very country folk, and me growing up very country. And
did we grow up country?
Well, with some things, just like not knowing the proper etiquette with like silverware, and me using my hands to eat a lot, like we're passing the food. And I told a story about how the first time I felt that I belonged at an organization was when people saw me doing these quirky things and still like embraced me, and they're like, "Oh, Jennifer spreads cream cheese with her finger on her bagel."
What? At work?
You just put your finger in the thing and then just do it.
You do that at home by yourself.
I did that at work once, and they're like, "Oh, that's how she does it."
You're so unique.
I felt like I really was included and that they cared about me because they didn't make me feel like silly. We all laughed together. So yeah, storytelling's a big deal.
It is. I'm trying to think if I have one to share, but I know we're running short on time. So I think you'll have to tune in next week to hear another authentic power of storytelling story from me. But to wrap it up here, if you could give us just a 1-minute time in your life that you had an obstacle and it turned into a fortunate event that we haven't talked about, just something that turned from negative to positive, if you had to close us out for today's episode.
Okay, let me think. I think I do have one, and a lot of people may be able to relate to stories like this. I have been fired on more than one occasion, not so much from news jobs, but in the past with other jobs because of my personality, just laughing with customers, talking too much at work, talking too much in school. It's been a problem
we know that story too.
It's been a problem for a long time, right? We turn it into careers. This is how we make it happen.
This is how we make it work.
I think it's important for people to remember, if they have these kind of situations, to lean into yourself and maybe use that as your strength. If you're getting in trouble in school for talking in class, maybe you can use that one day. I mean, obviously, it's not benefiting you right now because you're in trouble now.
Find a way to make it work.
Find a way to make it work, right? Yeah. Make your struggle your strength.
Yes, I like like that. I like the way you phrase that too.
Great one-liner for Justin. Make your struggle your strength.
It's going to be our caption for this whole video.
I love that.
All right, Jennifer, close us out
In
with
30 seconds or less. One of my hardest things I've ever gone through in life was having very severe postpartum after my second kiddo, which led to a job loss as well, and led to a lot of soul searching and trying to figure out who I was and what I wanted to do with my life. But going through that, I went through so much counseling. I became so much wiser. I have a lot more empathy for other people who struggle with that. And if I hadn't gone through that, I wouldn't be where I am today with my current job. So it was really hard, and I struggled with just why did I go through that for a long time. But I'm actually grateful for going through it because I've come out and I like who I am better today than I was then. So, yeah.
Well, it's beautiful. And, being there with you through it, I think you're so strong, and, I respect you so much. And I think that you've made a wonderful career for yourself. You're a wonderful mom. I have to brag on you. So, again, thank you for taking time out of your day to come and do this podcast. Same to you, Justin, from College Station. Came out to little old UHCL for this. So thank y'all both. I hope y'all have enjoyed our discussion. Next week, I will be talking with some clients of mine at the marketing firm that I work for. So stay tuned for that.
Keep listening. Jess has great stories about her life.
I have
She's
a lot.
amazing.
And I can be pretty funny sometimes.
She's great. Rock
Okay,
star.
you don't have to give me the hype back.
Amazing.
And
Hype.
Justin, thank you again.
Let's go.
All right. Well, that's closing us out. Bye.
Bye.